This week's Drive, we see a winner back out of the race, watch a one-time winner head for the beach, join in a BMW bump and grind, and wonder where racing will go next. All this and more in this week's Drive. Motor Racing's A1 Grand Prix series got underway at Brands Hatch in the UK with 20-year-old Brazilian Nelson Piquet Jr. evoking memories of his famous father's performances with a dominant victory in both races. Now the series has moved on to Germany, and in nearby Prague, the Czech Republic revealed its A1 entry. It gave an opportunity for A1 Grand Prix founder, president and chairman Sheikh Maktoum to praise the successful opening of the series.
When I first came up with the idea, I wouldn't dare dream that it would be this big. It was Tony Teixeira, the optimist and the entrepreneur, who was the first person to see how big it can be. But I think I speak for both of us, when none of us imagined that we'll get this far, this quickly.
Manager of the Czech Republic team, Antonin Charuz, has confirmed that drivers Thomas Enger, Jarek Janis and Jan Charuz will represent their country in the World Cup of Motorsport. Their team's patron is Czech international footballer Milan Baros, who plays for Aston Villa in the English Premiership.
So I appreciate I can be patron of Czech national team in World Cup Motorsport Grand Prix A1. And I wish them all the best, and I'll be in every race if it's going to be possible.
In a tour of Prague, the A1 car was displayed in the Parliament building gardens before heading to Prague Castle, the home of the country's president. Lebanese A1 driver Khalil Bashir has thanked the men who helped save his life. He met the designers of the car and was presented with the roll bar that saved his life by A1 GP's John Wickham and Lola's Richard Powell.
Yeah, what happened is, as we saw on TV, I was taking the paddock hill corner as normal. I checked my mirror before to start to turn, and the Italian car was behind, not next to me. So I didn't check it later because I want to take the corner. It's a downhill corner. And suddenly I felt the hit, and I started to roll. The first rolling, and the first time I touched the floor, I saw that I lost my roll hoop, so I was worried too much on my head. So everybody is asking from the inside camera what was this. So I was just worried for my neck, my head. And after that, it's end on the roof, which I didn't want to end like this. But it's good that we are in one piece. I'm in one piece, and I'm ready to go for the next race.
Race day for the A1 Grand Prix of Nations at the Euro Speedway in Lausitz, 160 kilometres outside Berlin. Before the start of the sprint race, Sheikh Maktoum led the teams and drivers in observing a minute's silence in memory of earthquake victims in Pakistan and India. There was an exciting start to the sprint as British driver Robbie Kerr tangled with Scott Speed of Team USA, both spinning off as their race came to an early end. Kerr, French driver Nicolas Lapierre, Irish ex-Jordan Formula One driver Ralph Furman, German Timo Scheider and Brazilian Nelson Piquet dominated practice. The wishfully named Scott Speed had qualified only 10th. Lapierre went on to take a dominant win in the sprint, with Switzerland's Neil Jani second and Piquet, double winner at the inaugural A1 season's opening leg at Brands Hatch a fortnight previously, coming third. Lapierre's victory meant that he retained pole position for the longer, standing start feature race, with Switzerland moving up 4 positions from 6th to 2nd on the grid. Britain and the US, meanwhile, had to start from the back of the grid. Once again, the Frenchman quickly moved into the lead. A whole host of teams pitted early, including Britain and America. The British made a fantastic pit stop, but it was to be another day of disappointment for Scott Speed. Nelson Piquet, son of a 3-time Formula One world champion, had a disastrous time in the feature race. After a stalled start, he moved up the pack until he found 3 wide into a corner wouldn't go and went off backwards with suspension damage with 9 laps left. So Nicolas Lapierre took his second win of the day to round off a marvellous week for A1 Team France. The French will have a difficult decision to make in 2 weeks' time in Portugal, with both their drivers, Lapierre and Alexandre Premat, already showing great pace. Britain's Kerr was second and Canada's Sean McIntosh third. New Zealander Johnny Reid was 4th, Switzerland's Neil Jani 5th and Ireland's Ralph Furman 6th. Piquet scored an additional championship point for Brazil with the fastest race lap. So Brazil holds on to the championship lead with 30 points, followed by France and New Zealand on 29 each. The kit gets packed up again and shipped off to Estoril in Portugal for the next round. The penultimate round of the World Touring Car Championship, and tens of thousands of touring car fans flocked to the Ricardo Tomo circuit in Valencia. In race 1, Spaniard Jordi Gené started on pole and was looking to maintain his lead at the first bend of his home track ahead of Seat teammate Peter Terting and BMW's Dirk Müller in 3rd. Gené was making his debut outing in the Spanish-built Seat Leon and looking for his first career WTCC victory. Elsewhere, Briton Robert Huff spun his Chevrolet and took out the Alfa Romeo of Brazil's Augusto Farfus. Andy Priaulx of BMW and Alfa Romeo's Fabrizio Giovanardi rose to 7th and 5th on lap 1 after starting in 15th and 13th places respectively. Meanwhile, up ahead, Dirk Müller overtook Terting under braking on the 6th lap to move into 2nd place. Müller was just 1 point behind teammate Priaulx at the top of the standings before round 10 of 11. Terting was tailgating Müller, but on lap 9, BMW's Jörg Müller took the inside line to overtake Giovanardi for 5th place and then managed to fend off the Italian's advances on lap 9. Giovanardi's attempts to regain 5th place failed, and it was left to Gené to round the final bend before taking his first victory in the debut outing for the Seat Leon on home soil. A delighted Seat pit lane showed their appreciation as he covered the 13 laps with Dirk Müller, Terting and Priaulx making up the top 4. Race 2 got off to a thrilling start as Nicola Larini, starting from pole position on a grid where the top 10 places are reversed, got away badly in his Chevrolet. Fellow Italian and fellow ex-Formula One driver Alex Zanardi took the lead. Jörg Müller's BMW was in close attendance, while Andy Priaulx overtook his brother, BMW teammate and fellow championship contender Dirk Müller, in 3rd place. The battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th place was electric as Giovanardi somehow managed to hold on to 2nd place, while behind him there was an epic duel between the BMW teammates Müller and Priaulx before the Englishman regained 3rd place under braking. The two cars came together on lap 10, with the German dropping to 4th. Up ahead, Jörg Müller took the checkered flag in a fraction over 23 minutes in his BMW, with Giovanardi, Priaulx and his brother Dirk finishing in 2nd, 3rd and 4th respectively. The final outcome was that Dirk Müller overtook Priaulx by just 1 point at the top of the standings. However, Priaulx openly criticised his teammate after race 2.
But unfortunately we had a very tough race with Dirk and, well, it was very high risk.
You're being very diplomatic, I see. It seemed like you were pretty annoyed at the end there because of the race with Dirk. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, just it was a bit too tough for my liking. We need to concentrate on making sure BMW win the championship, and 2 BMWs could have easily not finished, which is not my goal.
The grid at the final round in Macau will not be for the faint-hearted. NASCAR was at Talladega, the only track in the chase that requires carburetor restrictor plates which sap horsepower and keep cars under 200 miles an hour. Elliott Sadler was on pole and led the pack as the green flag was waved. The cars stayed in a pack due to the restrictor plates as they prevent cars from breaking away, creating huge packs of side-by-side racing. One bump can trigger a huge accident though, collecting cars at random, and that's exactly what happened on lap 20. It seemed that points leader Jimmy Johnson hit the back of Elliott Sadler's car and started an accident that also included contenders Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace. Fans' favourite Dale Earnhardt was also sent off the track, while Michael Waltrip's car barrel rolled down the track with the entire rear axle ripped right out.
You've got to respect everybody, and you're so tight.
It happened again on lap 65 when Ryan Newman bumped Casey Mears. Greg Biffle and Jeff Burton got caught in the carnage, but it was Scott Riggs who took to the air. Riggs' car spun on its nose before flipping into the air and raining parts and pieces onto Jeff Burton's car.
Ryan Newman in the 12.
Jeff Gordon, who'd won 3 of the last 4 races at Talladega, was also in the second crash, knocking him out of the race. Amazingly, there were no injuries in either incident.
Right behind Mike Wallace.
Stand on, I just stay up. Easy, back it down as much as you can.
Wow, that's not what you want to see out of your windshield.
Oh my gosh.
Ken Schrader crashed on lap 185, bringing out a yellow flag. Just after the restart, Kyle Petty spun to bring out another caution, freezing the field with Dale Jarrett in the lead. Petty guided his broken car across the line, while Jarrett took the checkered flag. The bustling port city of Naples in southern Italy played host to the 6th and final event of the 2005 Powerboat P1 World Championship, the European Grand Prix. In the pits, the teams worked hard to make sure that their boats were ready for these crucial final 2 rounds of the season. There were 13 teams competing in 2 classes, Evolution and Supersport. It was the Italian Sony team who set the early pace in the Evolution class, using their superior power to blaze a trail. Their close rivals, Vetpunkt.com, were on their tail, with OSG Donzi close behind in 3rd position. In the Supersport class, the battle was on between the championship contenders, and this time Buzzy Bullet came off the line best and went on to establish a good lead. Jolly Drive hung onto their tail in 2nd. Crossing the line first in the Evolution class was the Sony team, with Vetpunkt.com taking 2nd position, and OSG Donzi came in 3rd. Taking a much-deserved checkered flag in the Supersport class was Buzzy Bullet, with the Italians Jolly Drive finishing in 2nd. The second day of competition saw ideal weather conditions for the decisive final round of championship racing. With both class titles still up for grabs, the race promised to be fierce, and with the Evolution and Supersport boats starting together, it made for a spectacular sight. Following their domination of the previous round, the powerful Sony team hit the front once again. Not too far behind was the Austrian team, Vetpunkt.com. Leading the championship, the crew knew that if they simply held their position, the world title was theirs. Close behind in 3rd were the hometown crew, OSG Donzi. In contrast, the race for the Supersport Championship was extremely tight. The overall leaders by just 1 point, Jolly Drive, managed to get into an early lead in the second race over their nearest rivals, Buzzy Bullet. The Britons were determined to catch them, but close shaves with marker boys like this didn't help. In the Evolution class, Sony took the checkered flag. But the World Championship title went to second place Vetpunkt.com, who were overjoyed with their success. OSG Donzi finished 3rd again in front of their home flotilla. In the Supersport class, Jolly Drive crossed the line first to confirm themselves as world champions. Buzzy Bullet came in a close 2nd, but it wasn't enough, and the disappointment of driver Drew Langdon was obvious. A delighted Vetpunkt.com team saluted their new status as Powerboat P1 World Champions.
Here we are today, champions of the world, powerboating, and it's a fantastic and amazing feeling.
The 2005 Supersport champions, Jolly Drive, celebrated their well-deserved victory with understandable relish.
A beautiful championship. We won it by the skin of our teeth. We'd like to thank our friends in Buzzy Bullet. They gave us a run for our money. They ran really well, but we ran better.
Now the teams can start work for next season. Valentino Rossi was trying to become the first Yamaha rider to win 10 Premier Class races in a single season. But his compatriot Loris Capirossi, in pole position on a Ducati and after wins in Malaysia and Japan, took the lead on the first of 22 laps, with Spaniard Sete Gibernau second and Rossi third. However, Marco Melandri of Italy, who started the race in 5th place, was flying and took American Nicky Hayden, also on a Honda, on the inside to claim 4th place. With just 2 laps remaining, Gibernau, last year's winner, ran wide while leading, having passed Melandri. Gibernau staged a mini comeback and finished 5th. Melandri and Rossi vied for the lead on the 20th lap as Rossi slid past his compatriot after Gibernau's mistake. He then crossed the finish line to win from Melandri and Hayden. Afterwards, a thrilled Rossi paid tribute to both Melandri and Gibernau and his Yamaha team after, in his opinion, the best race of another memorable year.
What a race, man, is for me the best race of the year, the strongest race of the year was fantastic. I think everybody in front. I have 2 great rivals, and all 3 we are in a very good shape today. And everyone want give and give more than 100% for try. I think was an incredible battle from the beginning to the end. For sure, a tough race. I have bad memories from last year in this track, so I want win. I want try. I know it's not impossible. The bike was good. In fact, I want to say thank you to all my guys at Yamaha, because today my bike was very fast. At the end, everyone tried to overtake. Had a great battle with Marco. But at the end, we were able to win 10 for this year, and I'm very happy.
In the 250 class, Casey Stoner of Australia led on his Aprilia from Spanish Honda riders Dani Pedrosa and Jorge Lorenzo, and was in a class of his own as he won his 2nd consecutive race, crossing the finish line 1.5 seconds ahead of Lorenzo. Andrea Dovizioso pipped fellow Honda rider Pedrosa for 3rd place on the finish line, as Stoner cut Pedrosa's championship lead to 26 points, with 3 races remaining. With the next round on home soil in Australia, Stoner can be expected to cut Pedrosa's lead still further. The Spaniard has no fond memories of the Phillip Island track, as he broke both his ankles in a crash there. In the 125s, Hungarian Gregor Talmaxi pipped his championship-chasing KTM teammate Mika Kallio on the line to win a thriller. Kallio losing by just 17 one-thousandths of a second. However, the Finn can take comfort from the fact that he now leads the overall standings with 201 points from 14 races, 2 points more than second-placed Honda rider Thomas Luthi of Switzerland. The battle between these two has left everyone else way off the pace in title terms, but despite their dominance, neither has managed to string together 2 consecutive victories. Amazingly, that feat was last achieved by Frenchman Arnaud Vincent back in 2002. Luthi finished 6th in Qatar, while Talmaxi is now 3rd overall with 156 points. The final round of the Superbike season took teams to Magny-Cours in France. Australian Troy Corser had already claimed the title, but there were still the minor places up for grabs. Corser's teammate, Yukio Kagayama, took the lead early in race 1. He was soon passed, though, by Chris Vermeulen, and the Australian led to the finish on his Honda. Chris Walker had also gone ahead of Kagayama, but the Japanese Suzuki rider regained his composure to move back into 2nd. Noriyuki Haga's hopes of securing 3rd place in the championship took a dent when he was taken out by another Australian, his Yamaha teammate Andrew Pitt. Meanwhile, one of Haga's rivals for 3rd in the standings, James Toseland, moved up into 3rd in the race, ahead of yet another Aussie, Carl Muggeridge. So Vermeulen was the clear winner of race 1, with Kagayama 2nd and Toseland 3rd. A spectacular crash marred the start of race 2. Andrew Pitt's dreadful day continued, the Australian turning in across Muggeridge, taking out his countryman and 3 other riders, Julian Da Costa, Giovanni Busse and still another Australian, Steve Martin. One of the riders got caught between the seat and the spinning rear wheel of another bike on the right of the picture. Muggeridge and Busse were taken to the medical centre and failed to make the restart. Muggeridge received stitches to a head wound and Busse was kept in for more tests. Pitt finished 7th. Vermeulen proved to be the day's in-form rider as he took the lead after the restart. In both races, his arch-rival and double world champion Corsa was content to ride for points. Behind Vermeulen, the two Japanese riders, Kageyama and Haga, and both on Japanese bikes, Suzuki and Yamaha, battled for third place. Vermeulen's race was to end in disappointment, however. The Australian was forced to pull up with a broken chain, which allowed Italy's Lorenzo Lanzi to move into the lead. Lanzi, a rookie stand-in for the injured Reggie Laconi, has had a stellar couple of races and is sure to be a hot prospect for team owners ahead of next season. With 5th in race 1 and 4th in race 2, Troy Corsa had a quiet day. He finished with 433 points, Vermeulen with 379, while Haga's 3rd place in race 2 secured him 3rd in the title. A group of rocketeers have come together to create a futuristic rocket racing league that will combine competitive racing with spaceflight, much like car races, except that the X-Racer planes will compete at about 5,000 feet along courses about 2 miles long.
Rocket racing is actually bringing these vehicles to the public where they can touch, feel, participate, fly in the simulations, and hopefully eventually fly in one of these vehicles themselves. It's bringing 21st century racing into people's personal living rooms. What is rocket racing? It's really the mix of NASCAR excitement and spaceflight.
At least 4 planes will compete, equipped with a 1,800-pound thrust engine fueled by liquid oxygen and kerosene with a burn time of about 4 minutes. So pilots will need to shut down and restart their engines.
The Rocket Racing League is an atmospheric showcase for the kind of rocket technology that will evolve in time from spectator sport to citizen suborbital spaceflight.
Of flight by this facility.
Something that's very, very important, crucial for the rocket racing is the ability to turn off and relight these rocket engines. That is not a very common thing in the rocket engine technology world, but we have that capability. It works great with the Easy Rocket.
Colonel Rick Siafos, a former commander of Space Shuttle Columbia and a 3-time astronaut, is the chief pilot of the RRL and will fly the X-Racer prototype in its inaugural launch in the X-Prize Cup in New Mexico.
NASA is a big supporter of these things because they know that private industry has to bring the innovations around to allow them to go explore the planets more efficiently. So the technologies coming out of the X-Prize, the X-Prize Cup, and Rocket Racing League will allow for cheaper, safer, more efficient rockets that will allow NASA to fly their astronauts, to the moon and Mars.
The RRL will use technology to bring the races closer to fans who'll be able to see a 3D course, including the tracks pilots are flying, with special effects for lap completions, barrier violations and penalties. Fans will be able to track pilots' progress via GPS and stream video of the cockpit, on-track shots, side-by-side views and wing angle views.
The aircraft, in this case, instead of the cars, will not just go round and round and round, but they'll be climbing and diving and maneuvering, and we'll, through the technologies, the global positioning system and the sensors that we'll have on board, they'll be able to have displayed to the pilot what that pathway through the sky is, and also to the spectators where they're supposed to be going. So it's going to be very, very dynamic.
The first race between the X-Racers, which Diamandis calls Fire-Breathing Dragons, is slated for October 2006. So, whether you're falling off of 4 wheels or 2, so you stay in touch and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.